There's quite a few ways to tell a coming-of-age story. Quite a few ways. Poor Things stars Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. Boy, would I love to see the face of Joe Sixpack and Jane Sixpack walking into a theater, not knowing what to see, and just on a random whim, they're like, Emma Stone, she's a big star. Let's try that one right there, Poor Things. I would just love to be a fly on the wall and see their faces as this movie unfolds in front of them. Wow. I haven't even started with the review yet. It's time for a brand new 2023 review because this came out in late December, which pains me because I didn't get to include it in my best of year list. You know, I jumped the gun a little bit. I didn't know if I was going to see Poor Things. It's my own fault because this movie would have easily been in the top 3 of the year.
For it is a happy tale.
I am Bella Baxter, and there is a world to enjoy, circumnavigate. It is the goal of all to progress, grow.
I think Oppenheimer's my favorite movie of the year last year. But let me just say right now, Poor Things, it stands apart from the pack. And I mean that in the best way. And one thing I love about this movie so much is how, I'm just going to say it, even though I don't know it, I'm imagining this film is divisive, all right? Because I went to this movie with my wife. We walked out 2 different opinions, all right? She hated this movie. I absolutely adored it. But she did look at me and she was like, yeah, but you like artsy shit. So, yeah. She's right. She's definitely right. But if you tell me you don't like this movie, it's not for you, I can't really argue with you. That's why I'm a film lover, you know? And you know, I know there's been this debate with critics and audiences. No, for me, yeah, I'm technically a Rotten Tomatoes certified critic, but I'm still one of you. And, you know, we all have different tastes in movies. Now, I realize that there's quite a few of you that have never seen this movie. You might not even want to see this movie. I don't know. But I feel like since there's quite a few reviews out there, if you want to see a non-spoiler review for this movie, go right ahead. That's fine. I feel like I want to talk some spoilers because I think this is the type of movie that it's an experience. Just Yorgos' direction and the really eccentric performances by Emma Stone, by pretty much everybody, but especially Emma Stone. I could literally tell you the entire story, but unless you see it and witness it, it doesn't really matter, right? It's one of those types of films. So there's certain plot beats that I feel like I want to discuss that some might consider spoilers. So there's your warning right there. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I could literally tell you, well, let's just say, put it this way. The stuff I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna hinder your enjoyment and more importantly, your jaw dropping from watching this movie. So first off, let's give you a quick plot synopsis. This is an adaptation of a novel from 1992. Alasdair Gray wrote the novel. Yorgos Lanthimos wanted to adapt this quite a few years ago, actually, way back in like 2009. But we all know some directors, they have an eye on a project, but you might not actually make it happen for at least a decade, you know, sometimes even 20 years. And sometimes I think it's all about timing and everything coming together, because if this movie would have been made back then, it probably wouldn't have been the same animal that we got right now. Emma Stone plays Bella Baxter. She is under the care of Dr. Godwin Baxter, played by Willem Dafoe. He is a Dr. Frankenstein type of character. He likes to experiment on subjects. The interesting thing here, and this is where I might be a little spoilerish, okay? But it is at the beginning of the movie, all right? But it's a revelation that you find out a little later on, is the nature of her being reanimated. Bella Baxter, and I think she went by a different name when she was alive, but she was a very rich wife and she wanted to kill herself. And so she's gonna jump off this bridge. Well, she's pregnant. And so Godwin takes her living child and reanimates her dead body with it. That very thing right there, it tests the audience. Like, is this more of like a taboo type subject? Is this kind of crossing the line? Because you know, especially with the way this movie deals with sexuality, it's a child's brain growing up. And it's interesting to see a child's brain inside an adult's body. Performance-wise, Emma Stone really had to give herself over to this role. Not just playing a child, Because this is a coming-of-age story. You see her at different points in her life. When you first see her at the beginning, you can tell it's like an infant almost, you know, or a toddler. It doesn't specifically say what year of her life it is, or the brain in her head's life, as the movie goes along, but you can kind of figure it out. You know, there's a part where she starts discovering her own sexuality in the movie. And really, that's a major focus of this particular coming-of-age story. And I think a reason for that is the time frame that this movie is set in, a time where women were pretty much looked at as property. And maybe that factors into the reason why the character took her own life in the first place. I'll start out with Yorgos' direction because there are so many different ways you can tell a story. After you watch this movie, I think you'll come to that realization. Wow, that's a pretty basic, you know, coming-of-age plot, albeit an interesting way to set it up. But in terms of being creative and even artistic, this goes much further because most directors are not going to approach this body of work like Yorgos did. And if you're familiar with his previous work, he's just a very eccentric director. He doesn't take shortcuts. He is the type of director that he has a vision and he'll do anything to achieve that vision. What I love about Yorgos so much is that you can tell he doesn't really care what the audience thinks. He probably even knows that this is not going to be for everybody. There are people that are going to hate this. And I love that about him. So many directors, their goal is to just make everybody like them, everybody like their movie. And Yorgos is fearless, and he requires his actors to be fearless. The set design by Shona Heath and James Price, I had to look up their names because you don't see set design like this in every film. It's highly ambitious. Everything was shot on a soundstage, but it's just so creative and, you know, visually stunning. Like, you could literally watch this movie with the sound off and you wouldn't be able to take your eyes off of it. Now, one common theme that you're going to see in a lot of reviews for this movie, I imagine, is Emma Stone's performance. And let me just tell you, best performance of last year. I would be shocked if she doesn't win an Oscar for her performance as Bella Baxter. She knew going into this that she really had to put down her guard and really just be free. Because in her words, it would have been a disservice to the character from the novel. It's not something that you want to sanitize because it really just gets the point across, right, of who Bella Baxter is. And really, you feel horrible for her because during the sexual sections of the movie, and it's a big part, it's graphic sexuality. But it's there for a reason. And when these scenes are playing out, to me, it wasn't so much titillating as it was kind of sad. The situations that she put herself, not all, but, you know, later in the movie when she had to subject herself to pretty much being a prostitute. So this movie is a sexual journey. You know, seeing the good side of it, but also the negative side of it from a woman's point of view. And it's a daring approach to tell such a sexual story in nature and make it profound. And I think this movie does that. And if I can be like completely upfront and honest with you guys about, I guess, like sexuality in movies, you might think, ooh, most guys are going to like this movie because they see Emma Stone naked. To kind of counter that, if, you know, take a movie like, say, Showgirls, all right? And I know some of you are probably fans of Showgirls, but that movie has nudity entirely through the movie. But it's painful to watch some of the scenes. It's hilarious to watch how some of the scenes play out. But I think it almost tries too hard to be overly sexual. And guys, this is coming from a Verhoeven fanatic. I absolutely love Paul Verhoeven. He is one of my all-time favorite directors, okay? Maybe I'm using the wrong example here. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that you get tired of seeing women naked in that movie. And I know I've lost half of you, but it's the truth. Whereas this movie, although there's a lot of sexuality, you're so engulfed in the actual story that it doesn't bother you. Also, I love how Mark Ruffalo approached this character because, you know, you're in a Yorgos movie. He was extremely scared to take this role because he knew he would have to go way outside of his comfort zone. You know, you feel naked, and I don't mean that like physically. You feel naked in almost every aspect as an actor approaching a role like this. Having to step outside of your comfort zone from other roles that you might do. Because I love Mark Ruffalo. Check out Zodiac, by the way. Love his performance in Zodiac. But, you know, like any actor, he has a safe space. Whereas this one, I've never seen Mark Ruffalo attempt the performance like he has in this movie. But Poor Things is really just such an experience, such a journey. It's hard for me to talk about it, and I can try to paint a picture of what this movie is like, and I can show you some trailer footage, but you have to witness it for yourself. It's the type of movie that doesn't come along that often. And I know there are some of you in the comments that might have watched this movie and you were like, this just wasn't for me, you know? Like I said in the beginning of the review with my wife, wasn't for her. But that's the beauty of movies. We all have different emotional reactions to them. Maybe that's why we love them so much. But me as a movie watcher, I'm always chasing something new, a new emotion, something that I've never felt before. Or maybe just I feel it in a different way because of how the movie is presented. And this is easily one of the most unique and phenomenal films I've ever seen. So I'm sure you can guess I'm giving this a Trapped on an Island. Can't recommend Poor Things enough. Please, please check it out when you get a chance. By the way, Willem Dafoe, I didn't even really mention him, but he's got all these scars on his face, which you might come to the conclusion that he maybe practiced on himself. I don't know. But, you know, it's Willem Dafoe. You're always going to get an eccentric performance out of him anyway. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on Poor Things in the comments. Looking forward to hearing them. Also, come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Also, become a channel member. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.